Hello and welcome to the Ask a Christian podcast. I'm your host, Nate. Coming up today, along with our regular shenanigans, we have got aborted babies, murdered children that you can turn into jewelry. So let me just go ahead and get this out of the way now. The website is back, so please go to askachristianpodcast.com. Nice and easy. AskAChristianPodcast.com. Find everything you want there. Find the Ask a Christian book. Yeah, I have one of those. Find the Discord channel. Find the Clubhouse link. So if you don't want to just hear a bunch of disembodied voices, you can join us live and be yelled and screamed at by Chris. And then be comforted by Steph. And preached heresy to by someone who will come along. Chris wants to say that Steph, but he's being nice. Thank you all. Okay, anyways, check out AskAChristianPodcast.com. Okay, so we also have... I am trying to go through some of my older content that was nuked off of my previous channel, because, again, I'm bad at this stuff. So my other channel got imploded, and all the content with it. So if you do subscribe, please do. Subscribe wherever you are. Throw me a bone. But if you're like, I think I've seen that before, I think I've heard that before, you may have. I'm going through and trying to find some of the better ones and re-upload them under this new channel. So, you know, there's more content, hopefully telling people right good stuff about Jesus. So, be patient. Over the coming weeks or whatever, you may occasionally see something you think you've saw before. Don't hold that against us. Watch it again. It's probably fine. Okay, so what
Nate,
we have today...
do you still have the King of Atlantis?
No, we've looked before that. We've looked for this forever. That must have been like before I started recording on Clubhouse. I don't know. That was one of the early ones. I don't. Like, I know we have looked for that. I mean, there is a chance if you go back in the Clubhouse replays, because the Clubhouse replays have more than anything else. There is a chance if you start from as far back as you can go and painstakingly go through it, you could find him. But I don't know. Anyways, so what we actually have coming up today is, do you have any dead babies you want to turn into jewelry? Because now you can do that. It's a way that mothers can create loving, precious memories and have their children with them forever in rings and necklaces. It's so loving and kind, except they had to kill them to do it. So we'll talk about that. Turning your dead babies that you murdered into jewelry. I know. The Bible says no one knows the day or the hour, but I mean, tick, 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 tick. The time is seriously nigh. And also coming up, the Vatican declares whatever it is. Every time I read these Catholic made up words, they're always so close. Like if you just glance at them, they have very bad things. It's like the dicastery or whatever it is. It's it's funny. It's like God's way of pulling jokes on bad theology. It's like the Vatican I'm like disastery. What? If you just glance at these real fast, I'm like the disastery. I'm like, oh, dicastery. Like it spells the word the most horrible sounding words, but then they just move some letters and invent new words from it. So it's like the dicastery. Anyways, is that just me? Is that just something my mind does? Instead of solving the riddles of space and time and astrophysics, I just come up with funny ways to rearrange words. Anyways, the dicastery of the Vatican declare their ruling on Mary, what role she plays in salvation, and is she worthy of the title Co-Redemptrix? If you don't already know, you'll have to wait, because I know this was ruled on the press release came out at 11:30 Vatican time. It's Central Italy or Central European, which is 5:30 Eastern time. So as soon as I woke up, I'm like, yeah, I may not set timers for other stuff, but I set a timer for that one. So I know the answer. All right, so before we start... let's just start, because I'm going to be like, hey, Steph, hey, Chris, and then Chris is going to be like, I'm making eggs, and Steph's going to answer an hour and a half later. So let's just start with mamas who want to kill their babies. No, I said that wrong. Moms who want to turn babies into jewelry because they killed them. Okay, so we've got, this is from Life News, parents are killing their unborn babies to make jewelry. It may be a provocative headline. It's pretty much on the money. So, babies are intentionally being killed to turn into keepsake jewelry. What is happening to us? Yes, you read that right. Women are no longer wanting to implant their frozen embryos. This is about IVF. Their children, they can now have them turned into jewelry. So, you did all that money, you did all that work harvesting the stuff, getting these embryos, going through this whole process, having these things like frozen and ready so you can make them real people at one point. They're already real people. But anyways, you know what I mean. So instead, they're like, you know what? We've done a lot of work. We spent a lot of time and money, and I guess we're going to set that and our conscience aside. Kill those things. Make mama a rock. Okay, so you can have these babies turned into rings, necklaces, and bracelets made from what was once living, growing human life. According to one popular, quote, embryo jewelry company, when storage is ended and donation does not feel right, there's a good. This sounds not real. It sounds like it's not real. There is a gentler way to honor what you created, what God created, but what the person totally created. Gentler? Question mark. Thawing out human embryos, real babies, and letting them die so they can be worn as an accessory is not gentle. It's horrifying. It is the deliberate killing of one's own children in order to make a keepsake. Let that sink in. I mean, I want to keep laughing because it's so preposterous, and I want to think, wow, they're blowing this out of proportion. They're really not. This is just reporting the news. Okay, let that sink in. Instead of giving these children the chance to live through embryo adoption, some parents are choosing to end their babies' lives and turn them into jewelry. IVF literally means fertilization in glass. In this process, conception does not happen naturally inside a mother's body. Instead, it happens in a lab dish where a sperm is injected into an egg to form an embryo, a tiny human being at the very first stage of life. And now you're a watch. Anyway, doctors then select a few embryos to implant. The rest are frozen. Many will never be given the chance to grow, develop, and be born. Here's the disturbing truth. IVF clinics create many embryos at once because success lights a road. We've just talked about this like a week ago, and then like a week before that, and a week before that. It comes up often. And this is exactly the summation minus or plus the jewelry stuff. Okay, so only the, quote, best embryos are chosen. The rest are left on ice, experimented on, or discarded. Ugh! Or ends up in your food. What? When parents decide their family is complete, the remaining embryos are often forgotten or worse, destroyed intentionally. Now, with companies offering embryo keepsakes, these babies' remains can be crafted into trinkets for their parents to wear. This is not exactly like the friendship bracelets I taught my children to make. Okay, almost done with this. They can still... Oh my gosh. There's so many sick things in quotations. They can still keep their children with them forever without ever allowing them to be born as a supposed way to honor them. It might sound sentimental or even beautiful at first, but it's not. It's freaking disgusting. My words. Children are not accessories. They are not art projects, Steph and Chris. They are souvenirs from a fertility journey. These are little lives, boys and girls, who could live if only be given the chance. I wonder... if I can even ask my kids about this in a way they can understand without scarring them for life. Hey, do you like your lived experience for your 10 to 13 years of age range right now? Or would you rather be like a wristwatch? What? Okay, Steph, Chris, are you guys speaking yet, or should I just keep reading?
I mean, oh great and powerful Oz, are we permitted?
Yes.
Thank you. This is disgusting. Everybody who does this should go to prison, probably for the rest of their lives.
It is disgusting. You can read the rest of the article for yourself if you want. I guess I could have pasted it to you guys, but I think I shared it to Discord and you guys enough, and Chris. I have to specially cater to Chris. Because the rest of human society rejects them. They'd probably turn you into a watch if they could. But anyways, if you're listening online and want to read this, I'll include the link in the description. Yes, time to demand accountability to recognize the humanity of embryos.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like there was another culture recently that made trophies out of people. Let me think. Yeah, I think there was something about like book covers and lampshades out of skin.
I I mean I want to say I
Huh.
think I know, but you've got to be more specific. There's more than one.
Oh, I was referring to some of our German friends that
Okay, yeah,
decided that
they're not the only
Jews.
ones.
Wait, other cultures have made lampshades out of people?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a
Oh,
tribe in Papua New Guinea that if a hunter came home and was like boasting about their hunt and how good they were at killing, or we could say boasting about how smart people are about theology here in this app and lording their intellect over people. Well, hunters who would do that and boast in Papua New Guinea, they would skin them alive and make drums out of their skin to bang and drive away evil spirits. So I don't know if, I
oh,
mean, it wasn't a book, it was a drum, but and there are other rumors that say certain people in certain types of power or authority may wear shoes made by certain designers that's totally rumored, to be made out of human flesh. Anyways, go ahead,
oh.
What were you saying? Go ahead.
No, I just
We'll talk more later.
I wasn't talking about the Vatican, so.
What? What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Chris? Great. You guys are great. You guys are great. Um, we'll talk about them in a minute. Yeah. So, is there anything else that needs to be said? I mean, it's gross, right?
Oh, did you see that Canada is doing a great job again? They're attempting to open up their assisted suicide to 12-year-olds now.
I did see that.
That's fantastic.
Michael, I did mean to say, I was prepared. I'm like, you know what? If the Blue Jays win, I can congratulate Michael on game and series, well played, I guess, on behalf of his team or whatever. But they didn't. But I just wanted you to know, Michael, that I was fully prepared to be like, you know what, Michael? Baseball is an American sport, as American is America is apple pie. But you know what? You are the better team. Congratulations. But that didn't happen. But I was prepared to. How you doing, Michael?
Oh, okay. Do you know the first baseball game ever was played in Canada, right?
I did not.
Yeah.
Why do people say it's was it invented in America, like, or did we just take it over?
It was invented in Canada. You can look it up. It's pretty simple.
Well, I'll believe you, but why is that known as like Americana, like that and apple pie, which you're probably going to say like someone else invented?
I also like try to find a subject I care less about, and you may find it. Like you may not be able to find it because, yeah, like I don't care. I don't care about baseball. My
But wait,
wife wasn't. My wife was
okay, your wife.
inconsolable. Yeah, my wife was inconsolable. Like I mean,
Ah,
I think she went to. I think she went to 50 games last year. Yeah, like she loved. She went to two World Series games.
well,
Um,
well, give her my condolences.
yeah, yeah.
Did you
She's.
hear about turning babies into jewelry? That's messed up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not okay. So, all right. So I think you need to think about a lot more, and I'm going to give you just a personal story. So my wife and I went through IVF. We spent over $100,000
I honestly did not think it was going to be this
because
difficult to
when
just
we
say,
were
yeah,
doing
it's
it, it
messed up.
wasn't like it is now. There is a single cycle IVF that's covered under healthcare in Canada, but it wasn't when we were doing it. So we spent over 100 grand to try to have a baby. Didn't work. Turns out we ended up sending off basically sperm samples and egg samples to get them genetically tested to find out like what's going on, like what's the problem. And it turns out that my wife had a genetic egg abnormality. So, which meant she could get pregnant, but she could not stay pregnant. She had 3 miscarriages when we were trying, because her body basically was like, yeah, no, this is not working, right? So, the body takes care of it by itself. So, we had at that time, we had 4 frozen embryos, but we knew like they're not going to work. We were told by several medical professionals, like, look, we can transfer these, and they may implant, and exactly the same thing is going to happen the other 3 times, because there's this egg abnormality. They will never, they can never be born babies. What you're talking about was not even offered to us. I don't even know if it was a thing. We're going back 15 years, right, when we did this. So I don't know if this thing you're talking about was a thing
We've decayed a
then.
lot since then.
But I mean, when we lost our dog, 2 months ago, like there was a, there we had a separate cremation, and we have him now with us, like his remains with us at the house. And like, I mean, that was something that was offered to us. Like they said, you can take a portion of his ashes and make it into jewelry and stuff like that. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can do. I thought that was a little macabre. I didn't want to do that, and neither did my wife. But we are still searching for kind of like the right container to put his remains in to keep it like as a keepsake. But I mean, yeah, like that kind of thing's not for me. But so in a situation, so what you have to think about is that when you're talking about like these types of situations, it's not always quite so cut and dry, right? So, oh, there's my dog playing with a toy.
Make him a necklace.
Yeah. No, that's actually our new girl.
Wait,
but,
make him a necklace or make him a necklace?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, commas are important. But no, so so here's an interesting situation, right? So so I guess I would ask Chris this question. So there were 4 embryos left over that were guaranteed never to be able to come to fruition. You saying my wife and I should go to jail forever?
Let me interject real quick with this caveat Michael brings us. It seems the spirit of the article is, hey guys, we have a bunch of babies, they're totally viable. There's the regular, sure, albeit low, but normal expected chance of success. What are you going to do? Try to bring them to fruition, knowing that you have the standard success rate, or nah, scrap them, make them jewelry. Or, hey guys, these are basically guaranteed to fail, like extra fail, more than normal. I mean, that is a caveat. It may not change the spirit of it, but go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm good.
That's what I thought.
No answer?
Yeah, so...
Well, I was on the phone,
no.
so I didn't hear what was going on.
Michael has a special circumstance. Should he go to jail for this?
Has a special... So the embryos were already dead?
They were completely
no, they weren't
non-viable.
viable. Yeah.
Yeah, they were completely non-viable. They were...
His wife nor any other woman could carry those embryos to fruition. They would have caused miscarriage in 100% of cases.
Huh. Yeah. I'm not sure about that.
It says baseball was invented in Copperstown, New York in 1839.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually another I have seen that as well, but there's actually anyway, whatever. Who you can have baseball, I couldn't care less.
I really don't care.
Yeah. So but
It
there's
was the New York.
Abner Doubleday.
I'm sorry.
Where's Copperstown? You mean Cooperstown?
Cooperstown, yeah.
Oh, maybe. I can't read. It's early.
Right. So
it is the dumb point.
Yeah. So what we chose to do was to donate the embryos to like research, so that medical science could possibly learn, and maybe in the future it won't happen again, or maybe there's a way they can actually do something to fix it down the line. Right, because like there's all types of there's gene therapies going on now with cancer, so there's all types of new things that are coming out all the time. So our decision was to say, hey, let's see if let's see if science can learn from this, and maybe other people can benefit from this down the road.
Kind of like how they've been freezing Walt Disney's head in a cryogenic container for like 50, 80, however long it's been now, a long time, because as far as we know, there's nothing that can be done with this. But the idea is, if you have enough money, maybe one day they can bring him back to life. That kind of the idea, right? Something
I guess,
like that.
yeah.
Okay, let's put this to bed. So the last extent I have to care is just reading what Grok gives me. No, baseball was not invented in Canada. It evolved in the United States from the English folk games like rounders, with the modern rules formalized by Alexander Cartwright's Knickerbocker Baseball Club in New York City in 1845.
Thank you.
I was trying to make the joke about this stuff's made in New York City, the Picasso salsa or whatever. Anyways, the claim likely comes about the Canada thing from the first recorded baseball game on June 4th, 1838 in Beachville, Ontario, Canada, but this was a local variant, and the sport's development and standardization happened in the U.S. The Abney double play myth someone mentioned a minute ago. Cooperstown, New York, 1839 is debunked folklore, but even that points to America, not Canada. So,
Yeah, so that's the thing, and it's actually my wife that told me about that. Yeah, so I heard the same thing about this Beamsville or whatever it was, Ontario. Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Okay, so there we go. Josh, what's up?
Sorry, baseball was American. Besides that point, that they have.
Is that him cutting out or is that me?
I'm sorry.
No,
it's
that's not you.
Oh, is that
Okay.
me?
Yeah, you seem to be having some audio issues. It gets hisses and statics. Just try again. Just say it fast.
I'm just running on the mic. Okay. Anyways, you can cremate your dead parents and make them into records that you can actually play on your record player and listen to their words.
This is like getting into babies speaking Latin backwards territory.
I mean, so what? Is my idea on it.
Wait.
Says everybody should be jailed for making jewelry of dead babies, but the baby is dead. So
There's a misunderstanding here. First of all, that was Chris's point. Yeah, you got to mute, bro. There's some ungodly hiss. That's really bad. See if you can switch your mic or something. But that was Chris's point about the jail. But no, the babies are not already dead. That was the entire point. Like, these are viable as viable can be. So they are classified viable. They are not already dead. If there's like a power outage and they like died overnight and all the power went out and everything is like thawed and decayed and gross, and you come in, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a travesty. What happened? Well, I guess let's get them an urn. Let's have a burial. Let's have some jewelry made, as weird or macabre as that could be. They're already dead. That would be the circumstance we're talking about. The thing Chris mentioned jail time for was for having something that is viable and being like, nah, intentionally make sure that thing is no longer viable. That's the act, not putting it in a watch. That's just messed up. The act is taking something viable and guaranteeing it is not viable by your own will. That was where he was going. By the way, American apple pie apparently was the first recipe was in 1381 in England. No sugar, no apples as we know them. More like meat pie with fruit. So there you go. Apple pie is not American, but I guess since America was mostly English in the beginning, when they came from England,
I think they made
maybe
a
that's
movie
why
about
we
that.
adopted it. As American as apple pie, yeah.
But like, yeah, you should watch Tasting History with Max Miller. It's a really good YouTube channel.
Okay, baseball, apple pie, dead babies. Where do we go?
Yeah, dead babies. I mean, don't kill babies.
I have a quick question about the dead babies and the
Sure.
abortion.
Well,
Sure.
your microphone is much better now. Please go ahead.
Hey, I turned off a fan.
Oh,
I think
well,
that was it.
I think so.
So why are Christians mad about babies dying if death could possibly bring them closer to heaven?
That is an excellent question, and now is the time Steph will remain silent. She's had so long. Is because Christians don't absolutely know we are not God. So we would have to be God for some sort of argument like Christians should support abortion because every time there's a dead baby, they automatically go to heaven. If that is absolutely true as a fact, it would still not necessarily be in God's best plan or will or want for that baby to try to play God yourself and end the life that could have, right. So even if it saved that one specific soul by aborting them, murdering them, what if you didn't do that and they ended up leading the next great awakening that, took the gospel to billions of people around the world, and now instead of one soul saved, you've got billions. So the idea of that argument, like, shouldn't Christians support abortion? All babies go to heaven. Well, even if they did, which we believe, I think like 90% of Christians believe that aborted babies go to heaven through however they reason that. But we're not sure, so there's that. And even if we were sure, we don't want to snuff out that life because, first of all, murder's a sin. That's murder. So we're not gonna support murder. And secondly, we don't know that baby's future if you just keep your grubby hands off and let that kid live. Instead of one soul going to heaven, billions could. We don't know. They could also be a mass murder. We don't know that either. That's the answer. Steph, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was too mean.
No, that was good.
No, I like it. It's good. Do, does Steph have a thing to say?
Yeah, no, I mean it's just like a nonsensical question, right? Like, oh, if we think that there's a better life after this, why don't we just murder everybody? Like, why don't we just extinguish the whole planet? It's just the question bothers me every time an atheist asks it because it's just silly. It's like, well, you know, if you have children, you know your children are going to experience falling out of a tree and breaking their arm and getting their heart broken and a possible cancer diagnosis in their 60s and so on and so forth. Just smother them now. You know, why do atheists have children? Just kill them. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of problems with the question.
Well, I mean, I will
Right.
say if that question is coming from like a good place, like some like maybe Joshua, I don't know him super well, but if someone innocently is asking this for well, first of all, there's only the one time you'll innocently ask this because the answer is very obvious. But it's like, well, look, if Christians tell me that babies go to heaven and they want people in heaven, why aren't they pro-choice? I mean, I understand if you're like just getting into the conversation why you would ask that because it makes sense. But the answer, like we just said, is so obvious. Like once you explain a little bit of kind of Christian understanding, why that is not the case.
Well,
But yeah, if you ask it twice, it's
not
not warranted.
really.
Go
I
ahead,
see it.
Josh.
Okay, so I get it. Why snuff out a baby's rights? Of course, he could be the next Picasso. He could also be the next serial killer. So that point's tossed out.
Are serial killers bad?
Well, I made that point.
Don't do it, Chris. Look, we don't get to play God. We don't get to decide like, I'm gonna look
Yes, we
deep in
do.
this. Okay, again, we don't get to look deep in a 3-day-old baby's little watery eyes and say, did they look like a serial killer? Or did they look like they're gonna cure cancer? I'm not sure. I mean, there are
We
cultures
don't
that have
look
done
into
that.
when abortion happens.
Your microphone is
Yeah,
awful, bro.
your problems are back. So the idea of
Is it the
humans
PlayStation?
deciding,
Ooh.
I can't hear you
Josh,
while
no
you're
one can hear
talking at
you.
the same time that
We're
I'm
gonna have
talking.
to perform an abortion on your ability to be on stage. Just please
Bruh.
fix your mic.
It's like a Rush Limbaugh collar abortion.
Oh, good grief. I mean, look, it's not that hard to comprehend the idea that humans should not be doing this kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah, but humans can create life, right?
Hold on
Through
just a
IB.
second. No, humans don't do that.
Humans don't create
Okay, so
life.
humans don't create life, right? We have the ability to procreate, but we're not generating life. Like there's nothing that humans are doing to generate consciousness and existence. That's just not correct. So when in
Outside
all
utero
of
abortion?
I'm sorry, I would love to get through a sentence. In all of human history, when we begin to play games about, well, we would prefer to preserve this human life over that human life, we end up with like horrific consequences, like just euthanizing people with disabilities, right? That's always where that leads to, or euthanizing girls because boys are more valuable. And then we have China, which like now has such a female lack of female problem, like blah blah blah, so on and so forth. There is nowhere that humans have intervened in playing God and it has turned out really, really great. We don't get to look into the genetics or our imaginary crystal ball of a human being and decide whether they deserve life. Humans, just by their nature, have a right to life. Otherwise, the alternative is absolutely monstrous.
Well, that took a dark turn. I took a phone call and come back to that. Wow.
Well,
Welcome to the Ask
Joshua
a
is
Christian
arguing that it's
podcast.
fine to pick which humans deserve to live and which ones don't, which I
Someone
don't even
else in
think you would
history,
agree
I
with.
think
Well,
Chris invoked
since
earlier,
I
did that same
can't,
thing.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, since I can't interrupt your whole sentence, I'll say no, no, no. That's not true. No, that's not true. So,
Okay, which point are you going to say is not true?
I don't know. I tried to interrupt you. I don't remember it.
Okay, you don't.
Guys, everyone,
Do you
You know,
not?
and we'll go
public
point by
service
point.
announcement. Everyone, keep a notepad and write down your points. This will help everyone in these discussions
I
for
can't
all
write that
time.
fast.
Joshua, look, the idea, the whole thesis of my thought was that playing God, deserving, or, choosing who deserves life leads to eugenics. This is how humans are. if we start looking into the genetics of human beings, we're just going to decide that everyone with Down syndrome or a propensity with this diabetes doesn't deserve to live. That's where that goes.
It's a bad generalization.
But
it's
it's
not a
correct.
generalization.
You can
It
History
go
has
bears-
already
case by
played out. It
History
has
bears
already
this out.
played out in real time in European countries. There are
Eh,
certain European countries where they
Iceland.
literally are, Iceland, where they're like, we don't have any Down syndrome children. It's not because they have pristine genetics, it's because they murdered them all.
Right.
They
And
also
I'm
don't,
going to tell a brief story
by
on
the
this
way,
point. What?
Iceland, they also don't have mosquitoes.
Okay, anyway, I'm starting to feel like he's not really into this, but I'm just going to tell a story for the benefit of the room. Most people have heard this story before. When I was pregnant with my son and they did a regular 20-week ultrasound, they found polyps on his brain. And they said, oh, okay, that's not good. There's really only a couple of things that cause polyps on the brain. And so they removed my husband from the room and sat down with me and counseled me about my options, which the one they recommended was termination. When I asked why would the midwife be recommending termination, she said, well, it's our policy because polyps are caused by trisomy. And I said, okay. She said, it's either trisomy 13 or trisomy 18. One of those is Down syndrome. One of those is where the baby is born without a brain and dies shortly after birth, right? Or with a severely malformed brain, I should say. So she said, we're just going to go ahead and she's like getting the book out to schedule a termination. And I said, wait a minute, what if I don't want a termination? And she sort of blinked a couple of times and was like, oh, well, we could send you to this high risk pregnancy center and they can do a 3D ultrasound for you. And then we had this conversation where I started saying, why would you counsel me primarily on termination and not tell me that I can drive an hour to get the other ultrasound? And she said, well, it's just our policy and it's most women opt to just terminate a pregnancy that's affected by trisomy 13 or 18. I said, I'm just going to go ahead and take the other ultrasound. Thank you. A week later, we drove an hour to the specialized hospital, had a 3D ultrasound, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with his brain at all. At all. There were no polyps. And he explained it was just a blip on the ultrasound. Sometimes the text can't tell. They literally counseled me to terminate my possibly Down syndrome baby, and I had to push for an alternative to that. And now I have a son who is, well, he ain't right either, but he was born healthy, right? Like that. This is not an imaginary scenario. The midwife was really surprised that I didn't just say, okay, go ahead and book the termination. So, like, this is not abstract at all.
I think
Or
the other
regular.
I think the other elephant in
Culture
the room
of
that should be
death.
looked at is
I
why
think it
would
is.
they ask your husband to leave? Like
I
why? Like
disagree with her.
that's
Oh,
preposterous.
so I will tell you why. They do that because when they're consulting the mother on dangerous scenario, they don't want anyone else in the room. It's a matter of privacy, so the mother can make her decision without any other influence. So
I
that
just
Oh,
want
is
to
their
that's
make a
policy.
biblical point.
completely wicked. And if
That
I
is
were,
that is so
Agreed,
yeah, I
but
mean, I
that's the
would have,
anti-Christian,
policy.
I would have
antichrist,
refused.
demonic. Okay, you know if Chris and I are if Chris and I
Sorry,
are
not leaving.
if
Not
Chris
a
and I
point.
are equally outraged, you know it's legit. I think Steph was mildly agreeing. That is so disgusting. Like in
Oh
a
no, I
completely
agree. I
in a
asked for
completely
him to come
godless
back
world.
in the
Yeah.
room.
Did they allow him?
Well, so they said, no, we're going to have this conversation with you first, and then he can come back in. So they
That
presented the options. They said
that
it's
is
their
evil.
policy to present the options without him there.
Congratulations, your policy is satanic. Like that is so anti-Christ, anti-Christian family. Like if you're like a married Christian family and that crap happens, like oh my god, like I think my face just turned like red. Like it's not often I'm shocked. That policy is shocking.
And it
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
just that.
yeah, I
Like
mean
there
I
was
would stand
another.
beside you. I would stand beside you and say that that's also gross. I mean that
Oh,
that
New
fetus
York. Was this New York? I'm sorry. Go
that
ahead,
It
Mike.
I
was
mean
the yeah.
that
This was
fetus,
in there.
that potential life is
Jeez.
as much your husband's as it is yours.
Correct.
That
Yeah, yeah, I
But I
think that that's
suppose I
also
could
totally
understand
outrageous.
if someone was in like, stop, Chris, just have some grace on it. Let him have it. There's, you know, and he's saying that because it's a wanted pregnancy within a marriage, Chris. You know that. Okay, so I mean, the other
yes,
part of
I
this is
know,
like,
but like you can kill kids outside
yes.
the womb, even it's totally
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Y'all
Make
talking
an egg.
abortion?
Make
Hold on, Lamar. The idea, yeah, we are, I guess. The idea here is like, I
I
think
was
if
gonna
you
say
were a
something, but
woman,
apparently I can't.
bruh. if you were a woman in an abusive relationship or marriage, or there were parents and you're a teenager, I think I could understand wanting to give her information alone. But when I actually miscarried, this was my third pregnancy, I miscarried at around 12 weeks. They also dismissed my husband from the room to tell me about the miscarriage. So it wasn't just like we're going to try to push her into a termination without her husband, although maybe it was. But when they couldn't detect a heartbeat, they also asked Chad to step out so they could have the conversation, which
Also
is the
terrible.
worst, by the way, because you don't want to be alone
Yeah,
for
also
that
terrible.
announcement. Like,
Yeah, also terrible.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I
Let's
was the same hospital, so I don't know if that's a hospital policy or a New York State policy, but I have experienced that twice.
I'm pretty sure it's a policy in hell that they've adopted. So I was trying amongst all this just to, because I don't like saying it if I can't show it. If you don't know, you don't know it if you can't show it. Is that how it goes, Michael? So in Iceland, just in case someone wants to challenge, be like, no, eugenics is not a thing. This never happens. Well, here you go. I mean, this is from CBS News. So I mean, if they're saying it, it's not in their best interest. It's like against their entire ethos. Like they're very
Do they have
whatever.
mosquitoes, Nate?
I want to know just kind of the way your brain works in a minute to talk about mosquitoes. The reason they don't have mosquitoes is not because the mosquito was a happy little viable baby human life and they snuffed it out. We're talking different species, different thing. If I could end all mosquitoes, I would probably do that.
That was nothing of my point.
Okay,
was
great.
Just a fun fact.
Well, okay, sure, great. Are there snakes in Ireland? No. Therefore, abortion. Okay, so anyway, the point is, anyone watching can check this news source that why are people talking and why are they talking with awful microphones? Fix your static. Okay, so anyways, the point is, yes, them and Europe and lots of other places allow for totally killing your kids if you're like, hey, there's a chromosomal abnormality. This could have Down syndrome or something even less. So it's only a sliding scale to be like, I really want this type of skin. I really want this type of eye color. That could never happen. That could never happen. Read a book. Okay, who was next? Real quick, Random, welcome Random. I just said that someone should have done a wellness check on you yesterday. I was advocating for that because it had been quite a while since I've seen you, and I wanted to make sure everything was good with you.
Well.
You're good? You said good?
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
A shift in how my job worked made me just not available at this time.
But now you are?
It is not school for children today.
Oh, yes, my children are also not in school today. Okay, who was trying to say something else? I know.
Wait,
Lamar,
why are y'all's kids not in school?
I was trying to
parent-teacher
respond
conference.
to stuff.
Go ahead and respond, and then we'll get Lamar in here.
Is my mic good?
So far, yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If I start waving around, is this going to be a problem?
No, you're fine.
Just stay very
I'm
still.
sorry. It's like a statue. All right. So, Steph, I heard your story. I heard it. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I really am. I feel you. I understand. I disagree
Is he sorry I have to go through
with
this
the
right
point
now?
you were making about abortion, though. That's my only issue, is that I don't feel that it's positive or negative against anybody besides the person themselves. It doesn't matter you and your story, of your story. I didn't have the similar experience. I'm not gonna lecture you on a story I've had an experience. We'll say that. But I don't think it's wrong or right. I just
What
don't
is
think
happening?
you can have an opinion on
He keeps saying
anybody
I've had
else's
an experience
plight.
like 4 times in between like robot
It's their
microphone
choice.
voices. Why is this happening? Okay, bro, your
Well,
mic
your
is
mic is gone
awful
now.
again. I don't know what
Ah,
you've
God
done.
damn it!
Wait.
Was it 3
Well, okay.
minutes?
just to be clear, the reason I told the story is because the argument you were making was
This
that
is
that
why
kind of
everyone should
selection
please,
of
for the
that
love
kind
of
of
all that is
encouragement of
good,
termination doesn't
go
happen.
to
So I'm not telling a story to say like,
askachristianpodcast.com,
oh, this
scroll
one
down,
experience
and
should
click
dictate all
Join Us
legislation.
Live on
I'm telling the story to
Clubhouse.
say if you
Then
ask
you
10
could come here
women,
with good
probably
working
6 of them have been
microphones,
through that,
and we don't have to
right?
deal
Like
with
that,
this.
it's
We
not
can hear you.
unusual.
I did say we'd get Lamar in here.
It is. It is unusual.
It
Lamar,
is
what's up?
They
not
can
at
finish up.
all
They can finish up, Nate.
unusual.
They can finish
Okay.
up.
It is so your argument is hinging on the idea that this is like very rare, but it is not unusual for women to be counseled to terminate when something is wrong with the pregnancy without further investigation. That's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly common. So it again, like I'm not telling a story for boo-hoos. I'm telling you the story to disprove your point.
Okay, Lamar, would you like to jump in here?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm late to the show, so I don't know where their argument stemmed from, but it feels like the topic's about abortion. So I feel kind of lost now.
Well, it's fine. If you were late to the party, you can say something to end it, or you can wait until we talk about the new topic, or say hi to Gulab instead.
All right, I'll just end it with pro-life.
Sounds good. Yeah, it
Can
wasn't
I-
really necessarily about abortion. It came from another place. Josh, I can't, man. I'm sorry, Josh. I've tried my best. There is just a severe hissing in your ears. It was fine sometimes. It wasn't sometimes. I don't know what the deal was. I just can't deal with it anymore. You are causing me pain. So I don't know what's up with your mic, but let's try to fix that. Gulab, what's going on? Are you speaking?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Increasingly worse. How are you doing?
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm doing well.
Thank you. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. So, as a Christian, we've got answers.
We'll see.
I would say my question is, so when discussing with Christians, when I go to like different lives and stuff like that, I get like different types of Christians. Like one person will we'll discuss the Bible, and I'm somebody who reads a lot, so I'm still learning. But one person, like I'll read the KJV version and with one person, and the next person like completely is not like that and choose like ESV and then NIV and so on and so forth, or different belief systems. Like one is follows a triune God, while another follows a Unitarian version. So what type of Christian are you guys, and what book do you guys follow, and why? That's my question.
Let me just, I guess, kind of cover some of the baselines you mentioned first. So, and you got to mute because I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you.
My bad.
That's good. So, per the Bible, right? You said you do a lot of reading. I don't know if you've read the entire Bible or not yet. But if you read the entire Bible, the version does not matter. And if you read more than one version, you will see the version does not matter. There will be like slight verse restructurings. There may be commas or semicolons or whatever, like slightly different words. But if you read the whole Bible in context, you're going to see how you get the exact same message no matter what. So I would say that first of all. So there is only one type of Christian per the Bible. It doesn't matter what I think or anyone else thinks. So, if you read the Bible, the New Testament, the words of Jesus, he says his church. He has one church. And it is all built on the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ, his shed blood on the cross. So anyone who believes that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. You confess Jesus as Lord. So if you believe that, truly believe that, and confess Jesus as Lord, you are saved. So he says he will give eternal life freely to anyone who asks without payment for free. Just repent. That means express remorse for your sin, turn from your sin, and turn towards the way of God, and believe the gospel. That is entire Christianity per Jesus. So if you find people who disagree with that, make sure it's not some weird nuance and they really agree. But if they really disagree with that, then they are outside the Bible. Not because I'm telling you, because you either have or will read that in the Bible, and then you can tell them that. As far as the Bible, there are certain groups of probably true Christians who, for whatever reason, really focus on, like, you must use this one specific Bible or King James only because some ancient mathematical formula they come up with. The point is, it doesn't matter. Like, read all the versions for yourself and you'll see you get the exact same gospel, the thing I just said, death, burial, resurrection of Jesus. You get it all no matter what version of the Bible you read. They're not different translations, they're just different words. So, like, King James, it's 400-year-old speak. If people think that makes them more holy, fine. But if they start saying this is the only one you can read, and you're like not a Christian without it or whatever, then they would be in error. So I guess to set that baseline, and then the triune God, typically even people like me who would believe in the triune God, Father, Son, Spirit, all being God, not three gods, one God, three persons, we will say this is not a requirement because Jesus doesn't make this a requirement. The reason that we're very heavy-handed on this is because we believe in reading the Bible, any version of the Bible, that it is expressly obvious all throughout the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. So to understand truly God, you will undeniably come to the conclusion this idea of the Trinity, this Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all being divine, all being God, is true. So that's why. However, if you just believe the gospel, the death, burial, resurrection, shed blood of Jesus for forgiveness of sins, if you just believe that gospel, you are saved. If you get hit by lightning or hit by a bus before you ever have any notion of what is the Trinity, you are still saved. You'll be in heaven just like someone that studied the Trinity the entire life. But if you persist in the faith and are confronted with this idea of the triune God over and over and over, and you start hardening your heart to it and rejecting it, then because we believe the Spirit of God is supposedly living in you, leading you to truth and understanding, because this is such an obvious truth, if you will just read it, if you reject this, then the logic is, well, you must not being led by the Spirit of God, because if you were, you wouldn't deny the Trinity. So I think that covers your baselines, but what kind of Christians are we? I think everyone in this room is the kind that would say, look, we have a Bible, we do what it says, what we express as doctrine and views, you should be able to directly point to in the Bible, not an extra biblical source, straight up Bible.
Also, I would like to say, Gulab, another way to break that down simply is, like he said before, there's other Christians that have preference, but don't take a Christian as the main tool for Christianity. A lot of people like to throw their doctrine slightly into it, but Nate pretty gave you a overview on the most of it. And to be honest, all the Bibles are just variations. This is the actual difference. Let's say that Nate took 10 steps to get to his kitchen, and I pull out my Bible, which is a different one. Nate took 8 steps to get to his kitchen, and then we pull out the third Bible. Nate took 9 steps to get to his kitchen. We all know that all of these Bibles tell you Nate took a few steps to get to his kitchen. That's the difference, bro. It's just variations. It's not like Nate went to the kitchen and grabbed a cup of soup, and then the next Bible says, Nate went downstairs in the same verse. Nate went downstairs and drove his car. Like, you'll never see these type of differences because it's not different, as he said before. However, the New World Translation is corrupt. I will tell you that.
I think we're going a little too far down the weeds. I was going to ask Gulab for a response, but let me just go ahead and make sure we're on the understanding, like the New World Translation. So, Gulab, in the world of Christianity, any actual, how do you say this, Christian Bible, Christian version is legit. You can totally use it. If someone says, well, look, I have a Christian Bible, there are certain, like if you go to BibleGateway.com, pick any Bible there, it's all fine. It's a Christian organization. They have all the actual Christian Bibles. But then when there's like a different Bible that's outside of the realm of Christendom, like, Jehovah's Witness, like that's the New World Translation, right? Like, this would be, they have extra biblical books. They have extra stuff. So when they have their Bible, they take a standard, I think they take the King James Bible, and then they edit it heavily and turn it into their own Bible. And there's even the Message version of the Bible, right? So things like this are not considered Bibles. So if you get something that's like legit, like, hey, you're in Christianity, you need a Bible. Great. There's all these different Bibles you can grab and be just fine. But then there's this other section apart, which would still, maybe some people would call them Bibles, but they really don't fit the criteria. So, and this is more than I'm sure we needed to go down right now, but just to be painful.
Probably let the guy breathe.
I know, but then Lamar's like, well, actually, this translation's
Yeah,
bad.
because I just didn't want him to like let's say we told him all of that, and his first Bible was the New Translation.
Hang on.
So why is the New World Translation bad?
That's why I'm trying to say.
Because they rewrote it. The end.
Everyone, please hold on. Look, I didn't want to do this. I'm painfully aware this is overload. Gulab, thank you for your patience. Now that we've opened this box, let's just go down this road. So that would be like someone taking the Quran, right? If someone's a Muslim and they take a Quran, and then they take that Quran, they throw half of it away, they add a bunch of stuff that it never said in the first place, and then they say, here, guys, here's the Holy Quran. You'd say, well, is this just a different version? Well, they can say that, but no, like it's totally a different work entirely. That's what we mean. So if someone like takes a Quran and they translate it into Italian, and then they use like they'll take a verse and where it says like this guy went to the store and bought an apple. It will say this guy who has an apple he got
Nation
from
of
the store.
Islam, bro. They exist in
Oh my
Lamar,
gosh.
Lamar, bro, I'm trying to get through this, and it's already torturing enough. We've got to pick apart. Anyways, that's the point. So if someone like there's a slight difference in sentence structure in the Quran, people will be like, oh, okay, well we get it. It's saying the exact same thing. If you find a Bible that says something wildly different, that obviously can't be considered a Bible. So the idea is like 50 Christian Bibles in English, all are different versions. You read them all, they're going to say the same thing. If you find something that's wildly different, that's not a Bible. Just because they call it a Bible, it's not. And it's an entirely different category. That's the New World Translation. That's the Jehovah's Witnesses, which aren't even part of Christianity. That's your answer. I'm sorry it took so long, but since we opened that box, there's your unwanted explanation. Gulab, do you remember anything that you actually wanted to know that you can respond to?
Yeah. So about the translation part, so that's the thing that kind of confuses me because I hear it's all just slightly different translations, but when I look at all of them, or at least some versions, depending on the version of the Bible, it's like almost completely different meanings. For example, I was discussing with one Christian about the death of Jesus, right? And I was relying on the King James version, and because that's what I was originally taught to, that like you said, there's Christians who say KJV only, so I was under the assumption that's what most people follow. So it was one in one of the books, it was saying that he died at the 6th hour, and another said like the 9th hour, another said a different hour. So when I brought this up with a Christian I was speaking to, they said, no. Go to I think they said the NIV version or the ESV, I forgot which one. And they started saying the time, it said like noon. And it said
Yeah.
like something in the morning, like 9 in the morning. And another said 3 p.m., So I said, yo, this is, so I was like, yo, this is not even like a different translation because there's different between saying
It's not. Yeah.
noon
So
and saying
Gulab,
like 3 p.m.
are you real familiar with how ancient documents get preserved and translated in general? Like an account of what Socrates wrote or Alexander the Great or ancient Native American myth or things like that?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so what might help you is just sort of going briefly into that because I actually don't even like the answer that your Christian friend gave you. So when we examine ancient documents, right, we would have a criteria on how reliable we think the account is. So to put it in perspective, like we have very few accounts of Alexander the Great, like very, very, very few. So then we say, okay, we've got, let's say, 3 documents that corroborate each other. They kind of tell a different story, but this is enough to say Alexander the Great existed, and we see his fingerprint on these societies. So we're going to put in the history books that this is what he did and what he said based on these accounts. And we would consider that reliable. But there's a difference, right? Where it's like if you were on Twitter and you had one tweet that said, there was a robbery at the Walmart, then you'd be like, oh, okay, oh my gosh. But if you had 40 tweets that said, there's a robbery going on right now at the Walmart, everyone would be like, oh yeah, no, that definitely happened. Like there's multiple accounts of this Walmart being robbed, right? So there's scales of how reliable historical accounts are that look kind of like that. So when it comes to ancient documents, we might have one document that preserves an ancient Native American myth. And then we would say, oh, well, some culture somewhere believed this myth. And so do you follow what I'm saying so far?
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay, perfect. With the biblical text, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accounts. It's like it's probably the most well-recorded document ever. And some of this is because we have people that copy. So like in the Middle Ages, there's tons and tons and tons of copies that are being made and dispersed. So that helps preserve it. But what makes the Bible really odd is that it keeps popping up over thousands of years of history without any real relationship or connection between the authors, other than I guess, bloodline. We see people in the author writing from different nations, different generations, different cultures, even different millennia, and they keep corresponding over and over. The Old Testament will also account to many things we wouldn't know existed if the Old Testament didn't give a solid account of what had happened. So we might see, this happened with Assyria, and we see some evidence on a stone tablet somewhere, but then there's a full account in First Chronicles. And we go, oh, okay, that's what happened with Assyria, and there's multiple accounts. So all of that rambling is to say, the really weird thing about the Bible is that in terms of historical documents, it is remarkably, unbelievably well preserved and corroborates itself. So part of what Lamar was, and corroborates with secular history as well. So part of what Lamar was saying was that in the grand scheme of historical documents, we will take as truth Alexander the Great was in France and Alexander the Great was in Italy in the same month. And we'll be like, oh, someone got it wrong, but certainly Alexander the Great was in one of those places. And we accept that. We put that in our history books because that's how we look at ancient documents. With the Bible, if it says he rose on the 6th hour or he rose on the 9th hour, and we go, whoa, wait a minute, this is no longer reliable, then we have an issue with us. So I'll just tie it up by saying this. When you can look at the different texts and documents that we get Bible translations from, and what we call textual variants are not changes in meaning, but changes in the way something was copied. A scribe accidentally writing the number 6 instead of 9 for 6th hour or 9th hour, or a scribe misspelling the name
I am
Cephas.
dying inside.
These are,
I am
in the
dying
terms of historical
inside.
document study, these are not problems at all. At all. They're just expected.
Okay, let me say real fast. Everything Steph said is completely accurate and true. However, none of it is relevant to what your question is about the supposed differences between KJV, ESV, etc. I put the link. Let's just read this. So let's just let the Bible, so like the 9th hour, the 6th hour, the whatever, these are different books and different versions, which is based on the different calendars. So none of that's an issue. Your contention was with KJV versus different versions of the Bible. So if you're allowed to, in whatever country you're from, click on that link I posted. It's Bible Gateway. It will bring you to 4 parallel versions of the Bible. So one of the things, it's Mark 15:25 is the actual verse. I included more verses for context, but go down to verse 25. So in the English Standard Version, it says, and it was the 3rd hour, and there's a footnote there. What does this footnote see? If you click on it, it says that is 9 a.m. Okay, so, and it was the 3rd hour, 9 a.m., when they crucified him. That's ESV. In NIV, verse 25 says it was 9 in the morning when they crucified him. KJV, verse 25, and it was the 3rd hour, which I already know is 9 in the morning. It was the 3rd hour they crucified him. And the last one, New King James 25, now it was the 3rd hour and they crucified him. So every single one, this is exactly my point. Like I challenge anyone, pick any verse or group of verses in the Bible. This is free. Go to BibleGateway.com, type in the verse in question, and click this little button. If you're watching my screen, it's in the top left-hand corner, right before you enter it says Bible book list in the top left. Go right below it. There's it says add parallel. You can add up to 5 versions and compare them side by side. So exactly what I said is what you see. There is no substantial difference. It is 9 a.m. and the 3rd hour means 9 a.m. The ESV even says that. So what you do see the differences are is, just read this. So when they crucified him, and they crucified him, now it was the 3rd hour. So you will see the sentences are structured slightly different, but that makes absolutely no different meaning.
The reason that happens is for what I said. We have thousands of copies. So the NLT may be based on a certain set of documents that have a certain set of names, and it says the 9th hour or the 3rd hour. And then the KJV is set on another set of documents that says 9 a.m. What I explained
Those
is
aren't
how
based on
you arrive
textual
at
variants.
what I explained is how you arrive at small variations in the text based on the group of copies that you're using.
But these are not variations.
Those aren't textual variants in this case.
If I can respond real quick, I just got to my job, the parking lot. So I'm
Have we completely made you an atheist now?
No. You didn't make me an atheist.
I mean, do you get what I'm
Just
saying? Like, can you just answer that question? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we've read them parallel.
yeah,
There is no difference in the translations. They're the same
I
thing.
understood what you're saying, but I still have like a lot of stuff still didn't make sense to me. You know, like I see how you're trying to explain it, but that makes me have more questions, right? I have questions for both of you guys based on what you guys were saying because you guys both spoke. But also, like first with the whole different version thing. So like I understood that at first because somebody else explained the same thing to me. But then when I went to the other version, it was saying that because look, your explanation is that the hour doesn't matter. It depends on from what time did they start. In the end, it's 9 a.m. Correct? So when I went to the other version, it was saying noon and morning. I'm like, okay, so it doesn't even matter the time because the hourly time because it's literally it doesn't matter what time format or way you follow because noon is noon, afternoon is afternoon, morning is morning. And it also like two of those, I think it was Matthew and Mark if I'm not mistaken, when I was reading it more into it because I'm trying to find the context, one said like I think it was before this happened the day before Passover, and the other said it happened the day either on or after the Passover. So even the days was kind of switched up. And then that's my first part. I'll have you in my headphones as I'm on the shuttle because I have to take the shuttle to work. So that's for
Go get
you.
stabbed.
Yeah. And then for the nice lady, she said something about the preservation of the Bible, correct? So I feel like the claims for whatever anybody follows, people use that same logic for whatever else that they bring up, whether it's like the Jehovah's Witness one or the Mormon one, and so on and so forth. Everybody just claims like they received word from God, they seen God, and based off of that, they're preaching what they preach. Because I've had Jehovah's Witness and Mormon speak to me. Mormon gave me a Bible, the Book of Mormons, and he was the way they had their arguments for why this is the Bible. So. And then another
Right.
thing is like if like we have to accurately determine historical like who wrote things, right? So one thing that somebody told me about the book of John in the same topic, they said we have to find out who even is
Oh
John.
my
So I
gosh.
was confused like okay, if it says book of John, shouldn't the author be John, and shouldn't we know like who he is like in detail, right? Is he an actual person? And same goes for the rest of the gospel writers.
Right.
So that's my question for in response to her.
Yes.
Hang,
So
But
let
hang,
you
me
can
do
start
this
off
in
with yours first.
brevity.
hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me. The guy mentioned me first. First of all, I see your problem so clear. If you would, it may not sound like that, but I promise I do. You asked three categorically different things, and your confusion lies in there. First of all, set aside the authorship of John. Make a note that is a completely different point. I know you're in a time crunch. I know you're headed to work. I know you're on a shuttle. So write these things down. The authorship of John, totally fine, totally irrelevant to the other two categories. Set that aside. That's one question. The thing you said, your problem is not with different versions. Your problem is with different books and verses even in the same version. So it doesn't say noon and morning and time and third hour and 6th hour. This is not these are not your problem with different versions. These are your questions about different books of the Bible, Mark, Matthew, and different verses in the same version. So that is one categorical thing. So my only point, I didn't explain anything. The last part, which addresses categorically your first question, is all the versions say the exact same thing. So even with footnotes. So click on that link. That is my entire case. That should settle the issue of the different versions. So that category is settled not through my explanation, just by objectively bringing them up and reading them. So the next category of questions, which is where your question really is was it morning, was it noon, was it the third hour? These are with whatever version, but they're with different books and verses in the Bible. I won't speak to that because Chris wanted to be brief, but that is where your question truly lies, is that category. It's not versions of the Bible, it's which books and verses in the Bible. Chris, please fix us all and be quick, like you said.
Yeah, it's very quick. I don't know if I'm saying that right. There is no contradiction between Gospels as to the hour when Jesus was crucified. It just simply doesn't exist. And so there's not textual variance, there's not differences in time or blah, 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 blah. It's literally what you're saying is not true. And so the claim that you're making is that different Gospels give different times for the crucifixion. That simply is not the case. See, that was easy.
Wait, so would you
Thanks.
say, so the whole noon, afternoon, and morning thing, you wouldn't say that's different times of the day?
No, I'm saying you would have to show me in the text exactly what you're talking about, because there is no contradiction in the four gospel accounts as to the hour of Jesus' crucifixion. There just simply isn't. And so when you're saying one gospel says 9, one gospel says noon, and one gospel says afternoon, what I'm telling you is that's simply untrue.
Wait, give me a second. I'll pull it up real quick.
Great.
I mean, I can just tell you that I have a feeling your question is going to center on like who's using what, is it what, like the Julian, or like there's different calendars for different books. Matthew's appealing to a Jewish audience. They're using one calendar. Another book is appealing to somebody else, so they're using like the Roman Julian or whatever calendar. So I mean, it's going to come with this, or like the third hour means 9 a.m. So I mean, I guess you don't even have to be a Christian. You should. It's right. But these people have had thousands of years, and the answers for these line up unmistakably. So even if you want to say, oh, well, that means they had 2,000 years to edit it, I don't believe that. Of course, as the Word of God is preserved. But the point is, people aren't going to publish stuff that are flawed. So after 2,000 years, if you think you're finding a flaw, I promise millions of people will say, no, you're wrong. We've been doing this our whole lives. So, I mean, I guess there's an element of trust me, bro. But, I mean, you can also objectively verify this. And after, like, months of looking into this, and you'll be like, okay, well, for whatever reason, all these times and calendars and dates add up. But if you're still not a believer in Jesus, that's actually the problem. Michael, you were unmuted. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, so just a quick response to that, right? Like I said, when it came to like the 6 hour, 9th hour, I understood that argument, but like right now, open Matthew 27:46 NIV. It says from noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "My Lord, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So it clearly says it was noon. It was 3 in the afternoon, and even darkness came over.
Right. So why would you think that has anything to do with the time that he was crucified? Your claim was that there was a problem with the time that he was crucified when it started. He was on the cross for 6 hours. So
Yeah. So
we know that he was on the cross for 6 hours, and so I'm not sure why you would bring that verse up, because it's talking about a time when he was on the cross already.
Yeah, but then the thing is, this is time that had passed. If it was like time before 9 a.m. in the morning, that would make sense. But this thing, 3 in the afternoon, it was dark, and it goes on to explain
Right.
that then
So
Jesus finally cried out in a loud voice, and then he died. He gave up his spirit.
yes,
So it
at
says that
3
he
o'clock
died.
in the
You know,
afternoon.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's 6 hours.
So was it in the morning?
9 a.m. to noon is 3 hours. Noon to 3 p.m. is 6 hours, man.
This is like, okay, if you were following along right now, and you had a remotely open heart, whoever you is, you can see this plain as day, and I'm smiling because this is like, in my mind, maybe because I'm staring at it, this is the Bible proving itself over and over. So remember, we already established from the ESV footnote, the third hour is 9 a.m. And now you bring this thing in Matthew, and it talks about in the 6th hour, right? So you've got New King James and King James all saying that now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land. And then you brought up the NIV, which says from noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. And then the ESV, remember the ESV says the 6th, from the third hour, which was 9 a.m., well, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So no matter how you split this up between different versions, you get the third hour is 9, the 6th hour is 3. So no matter how you do your counting, this matches up perfectly in every case. This is not me explaining it. This is literally me pasting Bible Gateway parallels and just reading it. Like there is no problem here.
So would you say, what's the final verdict? Would you say that it was in the morning? Like, well, we know what the whole world knows that it's morning, aside from what time users they use, or would you say it was in the afternoon?
So it went from morning to afternoon. He was on the cross for 6 hours. So he was crucified starting at 9 a.m. and he died at 3 p.m. which is a total of 6 hours.
This is correct.
So when you say 9 a.m., do you mean 9 a.m. as we know it right now?
Yes,
I mean, yeah, we're just
it's
gonna call
translated
it 9
into
a.m.
English,
like
so that's yes.
Yeah, like it's 9:19 a.m. right now where I'm at Eastern time. 9
So
a.m.
morning for sure.
So morning for sure. Yes.
The same thing in the Quran. They're measuring hours of daylight, right? This is not like they're not wearing watches. Like why is this a problem for you in the Bible but
Well,
not in the
Well,
Quran?
because what he's going to do is
Wait,
he's going to
what?
try to bring
Wait,
up
when?
John next. And so here's, you
When
guys
did
just
I?
got to recognize the play. So what he's going to do is say, okay, we're saying for sure in the Synoptic Gospels it was morning. Oh, what do you do with this where it says Pilate did this in the 6th hour? So this is a common Muslim tactic, like to take the Synoptic Gospels, have you say yes, he was crucified at 9 a.m., and then come up with the next thing, which is, and go ahead, believe, is John talks about Pilate at the 6th. Oh, you didn't want to do that?
Did no one want to say anything, or did God finally just crash my computer?
I mean, I think because I anticipated his move, he's kind of clammed up.
For the record, keep those cards close to the vest, so you're, it's like trapping an animal like a little forest creature. Like you don't want to come yelling, screaming at the bunny rabbit eating your plants. You want to lure them in. Maybe break off some plants and lure them into your doorstep.
That's true. I have to take some rabbit luring tips from Steph.
But the point is, in the text, there's absolutely no problem. So the very first question he had is answered because the question wasn't really about the different versions.
Wait, guys, one second. I was going through. Yeah, I was going through the building, so that's why I wasn't able to speak. But why did you guys start assuming what my faith was and
Because your
start
profile says you're Muslim.
Where does it say that at?
In the survey that you answered, I'm a Muslim.
Okay. No, but I'm just saying I didn't explicitly say that to you. So I was wondering where you got that from. Okay. So
right. Steph, that's incorrect.
But
the survey says, "What is your religion?" and he answered Islam. For clarity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that on my profile. I just thought.
Are you a Muslim?
Yeah. I
all right.
am.
Oh, okay. So now we have a clear idea.
Wait, here's the thing though. That's not relevant because what we were saying is completely different, right?
Here's the problem with it. It is completely completely relevant.
Why are you talking?
Because I have a green bean and I'm abusing it.
I didn't finish.
Okay, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hang on. Why do you assume I'm a Muslim? Because your profile says, "Why am I Muslim?" That's not relevant. Why did you say I'm a Muslim? Because the survey where it says, "What is your religion?" You're like, "I'm a Muslim." Why would you say I'm a Muslim? Because you said you're a Muslim.
And then it's like, look, and what he's trying to do here is he's trying to say, well, Islam doesn't have anything to do with contradictions in Christianity.
Oh, rapture, come quickly. I can't.
Gulab, the problem that we now have here is that you are holding to a book that has so many explicit, obnoxious, ridiculous, incoherent contradictions that was authored 600 years after the events it tries to claim it witnessed and knows about and whatever. It also says you should ask the people of the book about their book because Allah also wrote their book and the two books are mutually exclusive. Like, here's the problem. It's not that I'm trying to say, the Quran is worse, so the Bible is better.
Well,
I'm trying to say you as a human being have a conflict in your brain that you're not being honest about.
You said I'm a Muslim.
You are coming to Christians asking about the 3rd hour and the 9th hour when you serve a prophet who said, "Let my aorta be cut if I'm lying," and then died crying my aorta was cut. Like, the internal inconsistency is a much higher problem for you as a human being than the Bible saying the 6th or the 9th hour. So I don't know. Like, now I'm wondering, you are not asking these questions for any good reason, is the point.
But you guys know the larger point, right? You guys know the argument. You guys know the Muslim argument. Are you familiar with it?
it's going to be that just the biblical text is unreliable, right?
Do the Pilate thing. Well, that's the overall thing,
So,
but do
like
the
in the
Pilate
book
thing.
of John, it talks about how Pilate. I'm driving, so I'm trying to do this from memory. So there's like a whole thing where it says that Pilate, at the 6th hour, Pilate still had Jesus on trial, saying, "Behold your king." After the synoptics say that Jesus was already crucified, so they're going to try to bring up John 19:14, talking about the 6th hour. And the problem is here that John is using Roman time, and the synoptics are using Jewish time, and so the seeming contradiction is going to be that Pilate hadn't even crucified Jesus yet in the book of John at the 6th hour, and it is literally saying that at the 6th hour Jesus died. So which is it? And so that's going to be the move that they're going to try to make. And so because John is writing to a broader Roman audience, he's counting Roman time from midnight, while Mark is using Jewish time, which counts time from sunrise. That's all. And so the whole thing is going to be, the Bible collapses, because we've got these two conflicting events of Jesus' crucifixion, man. And that's the whole argument.
And look, like, just analyze this from a purely secular perspective, right? So it's not hard to put on this hat. Why would someone who's had thousands of years dedicated, many, many people's lives dedicated to copying, to parsing, to getting theology just pinpoint correct, why on earth would they let a bunch of errors go out in their book? Surely they would have meant, guys, we're dedicating our entire lives to the study of this book and of these scriptures. We cannot let errors go out. Therefore, we must make every T crossed, every I dotted, make them beyond reproach. And this is the culmination of what they've come up with, which is exactly the original autographs, just copied over and over and over and over. So do they certainly would not have dedicated their lives, many hundreds of thousands of people. I don't mean like the billions of Christians. I mean like the hundreds of thousands of like monastic people, like monks, theologians, martyrs, people who were persecuted, even the disciples. So they would not have dedicated their lives forsaking all worldly pleasure to something they believe had a bunch of errors in it. They would not have done that. So they're going to make sure if they put something out, it absolutely matches up. Like, perfect. So if you read errors into it, what's more likely? Like Occam's razor, the simplest answer is usually the right one. So is it more likely that you, out of thousands of years who've read the Bible for 10 minutes, have found all these errors that hundreds of thousands of dedicated people have dedicated like 80, 90 years of their life to study, have missed these errors? Or are like, no, I'm totally dedicating my life to this book of errors. That is so unlikely. So what's more likely is you perceive errors in them, and then they have incredibly articulate, intricate explanations that add up perfectly, almost as if they have God doing it, and they've had 2,000 years to pour through it with a fine-tooth comb. So could they have edited it and produced something that made it where even the person that's read the Bible for 2 seconds is like, wow, they've sure got this wrapped up nice. There's no errors in this, like another religious book did? They burned all the other ones? No. The people in the Bible believed they have faith in God so much that they dedicated their entire lives to this, and also it was not errors. The truth of the matter is these explanations, intricate as they may be, are so on point. They're like, no, the truth of God's word stands. Here is the explanation why it may seem at first glance they don't add up. But if you know something about anything, yes, this is a calendar, this is the dates, this is the times, this is the audience. Every single one of these things add up to the hour. This is perfect because it's the word of God. Let's disseminate this to everyone.
Okay, next question.
That is the answer.
Gulab would like to know, and I quote, from these thousands of people, tell me their first and last name. Tell me the first and last name of the gospel writers.
John Brock. Oh, I thought he was just asking randomly like hundreds of thousands of monks.
Yeah, what he wants to do is he wants to say that the Gospels are synonymous that they, are anonymous, blah 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 blah. So John is the disciple whom Jesus loved. We have very early attestations from the apostles and from actually inside of the New Testament itself who wrote the Gospels. So we have an attestation to Luke by Paul. We have an attestation to Mark by Paul and Peter. And so we also have Matthew as an apostle. And we have very early evidence right around the 110 mark that Matthew was actually written by Matthew the apostle. This was already well known and established within the church extremely early on. And so this idea that the Gospels are anonymous is simply nonsense. No one believes it. All of the church fathers universally attest to the authorship of each of the Gospels, naming them by name. People didn't have frickin' last names back then. That's a modern appellation. So you had Jesus of Nazareth, like that's who the guy is. He's from Nazareth. Or you had Judah Bar Jonah, right? From Ben-Hur. So like there's just bar just means from. So you got your first name, then your father's name is your last name. So like that's just how that worked back then. We have John, the disciple whom Jesus loved. We have John Mark. We have Luke, the physician, and we have Matthew, the apostle. All of these have extremely early attestations, all through very disparate, different churches, all through the Roman Empire, all confirming early gospel authorship.
These are very
Okay,
good and
next
astute
question.
answers from Chris of Orlando, from someone who's read their Bible more than 10 minutes. Thank you, Chris. Yes, Steph.
Next question. From the time Jesus was on this earth till he left, there was no such thing as Paul, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
What?
If that's what the... So I'm just going to read it word for word. From the time Jesus was on this
Oh, we
earth
heard the
till he
words.
left, period. There was no such thing as what Paul, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John brought.
Oh, we heard the words.
Okay.
So
I
is he saying that the Gospels weren't written? That is correct. The Gospels were not written within the lifetime of Christ. The Gospels were written soon after the life, burial, life, death, burial, resurrection, and ascension of Christ. We have Luke writing pretty early. We have Mark probably writing the earliest Gospel, if not Matthew, depends on how you take it.
Look at
We
that
do
guy
have
crying in
early
chat. It's
attestation
like, you
that
shouldn't
Matthew
host
was
these type of
originally
rooms if you
written
can't handle a bit of
in,
critical analysis. To be honest, just to tell a question it's hard to understand, you need to believe first. Every question's being answered, and the only reason they dropped this dude is because he wouldn't shut up, and he was like,
Aramaic.
rolling over
So
Steph. That's the
we
only
have
reason they
early
dropped him from the
attestation
audience.
that Matthew may have been written in Aramaic, but it certainly
We're
was
even
translated
entertaining
into
the
Greek.
incredible deception.
But we have.
Why?
we have
I'm not a Muslim. Why would you think I'm
actual
Muslim? That's not
Pauline
important.
evidence
Because you said you're Muslim.
for
Oh,
both
well,
the
it
Gospel of
doesn't matter.
Mark and the Gospel of Luke within his
We shouldn't even be
writings
talking
where
to this
he
dude. Like, that's
references
whatever.
both.
Whatever.
And he
But we are.
he quotes from Luke in 2 Timothy. And so we actually have a quote from Luke in 2 Timothy. So this means that Paul would have had an early copy of the Gospel of Luke that he was working from.
Okay, next he says, where is this original Aramaic version of the gospel?
The
I have it
original
right here.
Aramaic version,
It's in my pocket.
Yeah, the original Aramaic version of the Gospel of Matthew is not attested to except for one early church writer named Irenaeus. But certainly there were extant copies of the Greek Gospel of Matthew. Very early on, we see some as early as 86 AD.
And let me just make a point about the language. People are using language interchangeably. So the fact that one gospel is written in a certain language or the Old Testament is written in Hebrew, there is a crossover. In the own Gospels, you see that themselves, because you like to read so much. If you read, it's in John, where it's written in Greek. The copy I was reading, is translated from a Greek manuscript. But even in this, where Mary Magdalene, I believe, shows up and sees Jesus, the empty tomb, and she sees him and says, like, Rabboni, or whatever. So it's rabbi, but she's like, Rabboni. And it's in Aramaic. So and it has to give a footnote to clarify that, because the word she uses is Aramaic, but the way it's written is actually in Greek. So it's inconsequential what language something is written in, because these people are interchanging multiple language even throughout their daily conversation. You can see it. So she could have said rabbi in Hebrew or whatever, or she could have said the Greek equivalent, but she chose Aramaic, yet it was written in Greek. So which language something is copied in is of no significance. People were interchangeably using language all throughout their daily conversations. Just pointing that out. Steph, I know this guy said he had to go to work, but do you have a feeling like his work is like he's like getting to the office, asking like, you know, I'm imagining this scenario, like one of those movies that opens up and it's like the guy wakes up, turns on a podcast, listens, maybe does a call-in show, and he's like, yeah, I just wanted to, you know, say you guys are good. I like listening to you. You know, I get my morning coffee. I'm taking the tram. I just have some lighthearted conversation on the way to work. Then he gets to work. He's like, I'm going through the office, you know, saying hi to his coworkers, sits down, puts on his cubicle, and then starts going really hard at the questions, and then you find out his job is fighting with Christians all day long. Like, that is his job. Do you get that impression?
I do, actually. I mean, now he's trying to tell me what First Timothy. The man who thinks that public honor killings in the street, beheading teenage girls, is okay
Why do you
and
think that?
approved
Who
by
said that?
Allah.
Well, your survey says it. Oh, well, that doesn't matter anymore.
Right, yeah. The man who thinks that beheading a 13-year-old girl in the street for showing her shoulder is permissible is telling me that I'm violating the Bible by being rude to him. That's where we are
Is
in
that
this
what's happening?
room this morning.
Is that what's
Yes.
happening? Honor killings are going on? I haven't even been reading
No,
that.
he's telling me, I love how rude you are to me, Steph, when your Bible tells you otherwise in First Timothy 2:11, and it says, quote, "Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence." And then he said, "Why are you disobeying your book if it's the word of God? Are you just going to ignore your book?" Oh, you
Well,
must be talking about First Samuel. Okay.
Hang on, I
Gulab.
gotta stop you guys for a second because that's actually secretly my job is to argue with Christians all day long.
I mean,
It's
Jesus
it's
also says,
actually
yeah.
like the whole thing, like, my secret is finally exposed. I actually get paid to just argue with you guys all day long.
It's just the
It wouldn't
again,
be
like
unheard of with the Canadian government.
the amount of cognitive dissonance it requires for a human being. Like I always try to get into the head of somebody to understand where they are and where they're coming from and what experience they've had that could validate blah blah blah. But this is like, I'm going to go ask questions about ours to Christians, okay?
Well,
How they label ours. And I'm totally supporting a religion, and I'm going to tell them they're rude, and I'm supporting a religion that beheads people, throws gay people off of buildings, you know, just completely and utterly, what's the word I'm looking for? Prescribes killing everybody who doesn't agree, so on and so forth. And I'm going to go critique them about being rude to me on an app. Like, bro, I don't know how to help you. Like, you were given some really, really, really good answers about how historic understanding of texts and variants and translations and history and authorship works. And you're over here whining about like people being rude. You literally follow a religion that prescribes beheading little girls and gives divorce orders to prepubescent children who've had their marriage consummated. Like, look, I don't, again, we have answers for all of this stuff. Nothing you're saying is new. My higher concern over giving you satisfying biblical answers right now is the fact that you're critiquing us when it's okay in your
well,
faith to rape
let
little
me
girls.
run down this real quick, and then we'll move on to the Vatican, and then I'm gonna run away from here. And if anyone does not want to, let me take Gulab's point. If anyone wants to follow the religion and not be a liar and commit to helping me get my one-on-one set up, please let me know and then actually do it. So, if you want to follow your own book, right? So let me just answer this last question. Why are you disobeying your book, Steph, if it's the Word of God? I will just give this answer, and then we'll move on to the Catholic thing. Gulab, look, take it from a person that's read their book. By the way, someone says, who wrote the Quran? That's a question for you. Okay, so when you say Steph should not talk and let a woman suffer or learn in silence or whatever, first of all, when I guess everything was fine, you were okay with that, but now you're not. Well, this is about church leadership and when the church service is going on. This is not a church. She's not in church leadership. There's not a church service going on. So that is the answer. You asked a question. That is the answer from an actual Christian that's read the book. So yes, Steph is not a fake Christian. She's not following her Bible because this is not a church. This is not a service. She's not a church leader. That is the answer. That's what that verse is talking about. So please, just trust. We have read the book and know a thing or two about it. It doesn't mean we're like spotless, perfect Christians or anything like that. It just means we've read the book and have the answer for you. It's not that hard. So, okay, let's turn now to the Vaticanus, Saconicus, whatever. We've been waiting for this, it turns out. Okay, let me just show this.
Is this going to be a nothing burger? Is this a nothing burger?
Yeah. So it'll be quick. Here, let me post the link. This is to the actual source, so you can follow along if anyone wants to. It's in chat there. It's the Vatican.va, their official site. So, basically, I'm going to read a little story first. So we've been waiting on November 4th for this ruling from the dicastery, a doctrinal note on Marian titles, Mother of the Faithful. So, not great, but not Co-Redemptrix. So basically that link I posted is the official thing. It's like 1 million miles long. Chris, put that in Google LM or Notebook LM and have it give us summarization. But I'll just do that too. So basically the document approved by Pope Leo. Yes, this is by Pope Leo. It clarifies titles applied to the Blessed Virgin Mother. That's not in question. She's still that. And calls for special attention to the use of mediatrix of all graces. So also fine. The dicastery. I just can't help reading these. The dicastery of the Doctrine of Faith issued Tuesday at like 6:30 a.m. when I woke up. A note. Basically, it says that she should not be officially called Co-Redemptrix. And it goes on to say that while she is, I forgot the actual thing. It's like she totally plays a role in salvation, but it's subordinate to Jesus, who is the actual only sole redeemer. So good on that. She's not a co-redeemer, but she totally still helps save you, but at a subordinate level. So good job for not being co-redemptrix. It means they want to have their cake and eat it too. So they want to have their Louis Vuitton shoes and wear them too, but not made out of children. What? Why would you say that, Chris? So she is not co-redeemer with Christ, but she still totally saves you in a subordinate level. So good job on no co-redeemer, bad job on still saves you.
The document says, quote, "She is the mother who gave the world the author of redemption and grace, who stood firm at the foot of the cross," John 19:25, "suffering alongside her son and offering the pain of her maternal heart pierced by the sword," Luke 2:35. "From the incarnation to the cross and the resurrection, she was united to Christ in a way that is unique and that far surpasses any other believer," end quote.
All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Well, she also accused Jesus of being insane, so there is that.
What verse is that, Chris? Do you know that verse?
It's like not off the top of my head. It's like Mark 5, I think.
That's not great. That's
she
fine.
sent his brothers to go get him because she thought he had gone off his nut.
Let me see if I can find that. We'll use the one true translation, English Standard Version.
The extra sacred version.
Oh, let me close my parallels.
So Random, have you had any time to think about the problem of induction?
Yes. And I would love to chat with you about it, but I don't want to make Nate suffer.
Nate's about to run. Steph, are you going to be a co-redemptrix of this room and keep it going?
Absolutely not.
No, my question, I did have a question, and I don't know if you all are not the ideal people to answer this question.
Clearly, we have no answers.
That's true. That's what I heard, actually. What is the theological, in Catholicism, what is the theological purpose of the Hail Marys?
Okay,
Actually,
so
you are in the right place. I know this very well.
I mean, Chris, to be fair, I feel like I would get a better...
Chris has the knuckle scars to prove it.
I feel like I would get a better answer from somebody who believes in it, who has like the theological.
Sure, but like all the Catholics on the app, I had to actually teach them Roman Catholicism back in the day. So like, they didn't know jack. So, so I can give you a quick summation, then you can check it, for accuracy. So
Sure.
basically, Hail Marys are part of penance. So you have Our Fathers or Hail Marys. So like when I was in the Roman Catholic Church, we did a Hail Mary for between every class, or an Our Father. And when you are going to confession, they will tell you what penance that you need to do for whatever sin that you have confessed. And so they'll give you homework. And so then you go and you do your Hail Mary full of grace, yada, yada, yada. And you say that many Hail Marys based on the sin that you're having to do penance for.
So that doesn't actually answer the question I was asking. That is the tradition.
Yeah.
I'm asking for what is the theological purpose of the Hail Mary. So the Hail Mary is a phrase.
Yeah.
I'm asking what theological
grounding. It's penance. So the theological grounding of it is penance. It is part of penance. So it's the same category as Our Father.
But how?
So penance.
How is it penance?
Penance? Right. So how is the prayer itself penance? And
yes.
You're asking for the theological grounding for how the prayer itself is penance? Because
yes.
they assigned. So when Aquinas, you can read this in Aquinas. When Aquinas was talking about the sacraments and the sacrament of penance, it was a tradition that had long grown up in the church that you would do certain ritualistic things in order to gain that penance. So it wasn't just Hail Mary and Our Father. Those are the most common ones modernly. But there was a whole bunch of stuff that you could do. You had a menu to pick from, if you will. And that fulfills the theological grounding of actual penance, which is a sacerdotal sacrament of the church that infuses grace back into you after you have lost grace through venial sin. So Catholics have a totally different idea of sin than we do.
But why? I guess my question is
for intercession. So in honoring Mary through this physical, repetitive thing and the beads and the rosary and all of this, you're engaging in a physical practice that's supposed to align your mind to that focus of asking Mary for intercession on your behalf.
All the stuff the Bible says don't do, like repetitive rituals.
That actually does kind of get it. The question that I was asking, maybe I was just asking it poorly, which is entirely possible. So it is intercessory.
Yes.
Not in penance. But in the rosary, you're correct, but not in this particular appellation. So the idea of the Our Father is that you are, or the Hail Mary, again, two things in the same category. When you are doing penance, it is for the reinfusion of grace that has been lost through sins of venial class. And so when you do a minor sin, what you are doing is you are going to the priest for absolution. So the absolution is going to be the reinfusion of that grace. The way in which you gain the priest's absolution is by doing the penance. And so doing the penance is going to be, say, 6 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers, right? You'll see this in movies even. So like
no, I understand that concept.
Yeah. Okay.
My question is why? Again, like I think I'm wording the question wrong. Why is the Hail Mary one of the penance? Like aside from just yes, you answered that in the fact that it's tradition, but like why have like this mantra / prayer focused on Mary?
Because she controls Jesus, and if you appeal to Mary, she can make Jesus forgive you and stuff.
I mean, that's the uncharitable answer, but yes, it's because she has particular sway over Christ, and so asking for her intercession as a saint is the most powerful intercession you can ask for, in their view.
That wasn't the
I'm
uncharitable
familiar with
answer.
intercession.
It's exactly what she said. It was just an uncharitable
I'm
tone.
familiar with intercessory prayer. I was just trying to ask if that is an instance of intercessory prayer as well.
Yes.
Okay, no.
Well, okay, so
In this case,
Can I make
you
my
are
point so I can leave?
misunderstanding the idea of penance because you were never a Roman Catholic. So please let the reformer Roman Catholic tell you what's going
Bro,
on.
you were never a Roman Catholic either. You don't
He's
even
got the knuckle
recite
scars.
the Hail Mary right now.
I was, oh my gosh, I was a Roman Catholic growing up. Okay, so
Look,
like,
so there are two occasions under which you might need this or be told to do it. As Chris is saying, the priest can prescribe so many Hail Marys and Our Fathers. The point of the Hail Mary is intercessory. You're asking Christ to forgive you through Mary. You're asking Mary to encourage Christ to forgive you.
Yes, and remember, when you are asking Mary to encourage Christ to forgive you because she is his mother, just as we talked about the statement Steph read from the Vatican, she has unique favor and sway among all other humans. And then let me add on to what Chris said about, remember that time she called him crazy? Let me direct your attention to Mark 3, not 5, Mark 3. This starts in verse 21. I'll start in 20. Then he went home, Jesus. The crowd gathered again so that he could not even eat. And when his family heard this, they went out to seize him, for they were saying he is out of his mind. And then he goes on to talk about blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. And then he ends up, this context concludes in verse 31 through 35. And then his mother and brothers came, and standing outside, they sent to him and called him. And a crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, your mother and brothers are outside. And he answered them, who are my mothers and brothers? And looking around, he said, here are my mothers and brothers, for whoever does the will of God, he is my mother and brother and sister. So in verse 21, his family heard this, and they went out to seize him, for they were saying he's out of his mind. And then he ends up saying, who is my mother? Is it my mother Mary, Queen of the universe, uniquely favored among all other mortals? Well, it doesn't seem like that, because he says, who are my mother and my brothers? And he says, here are my mother and brothers. Whoever does the will of God, he is my brother and sister and mother. So it seems even Jesus is not saying that his mother Mary is either Queen of the universe or holds unique favor among all mortals, because Steph effectively is the mother of God, or his mother in the context Jesus is saying, because if she's doing the will of God, if she's a Bible-believing Jesus disciple Christian, she is effectively his mother. Chris is effectively the brother of Jesus. Familial blood status seems to hold no sway over the Son of God. It's whoever does the will of God.
so yes, and so I did look up. So while I was at a stoplight, random, I did look up when the Hail Mary became ubiquitous. It was during the 13th. It emerged in the 11th century, and so there was a cat named oh man, who was the guy? Ayabert of Cashel, so in France. So he would recite 150 times the Hail Marys for Psalms. This became popularized because he was a popular preacher in the 11th century, or the 12th century rather. And then the petition was added to penance in between the 13th and 14th century. So, and then it fell out of favor for a couple of centuries and wasn't used as much. And then in the 16th century with the Reformation, there was a renewal of Marian doctrine, and then it became ubiquitous throughout the Catholic Church to use Hail Mary as a way to stick it to the prots.
Okay, on that note, yeah, give us a final thought, then I gotta run.
So there you go, Random. Does that answer your question now?
For the most part, yeah.
And Steph also posted something in chat there if you want to click on that. But all right, everyone, this was a I don't know what this was. Chris, I do not take blame for being extra wordy today. The first part explaining the versions, that's just normal me. I was trying to wind it down, but then the other dudes like introduced a whole other rabbit trail, and I'm like, ah, crap. So I'm like, well, look, I can't just leave it there. I've got to now explain this because it's just extra confusing. I do not take responsibility for that.
So, yeah, I don't know. And Steph keeps accusing me of never being Roman Catholic. She can look up my yearbook at Carmel High School in Chicago.
How many times did you get hit with a ruler by nuns?
Well, enough that my knuckles are not in correct shape. So,
is that for serious?
for reals, yeah.
Do a
For
PTR of
reals.
your knuckles for tomorrow.
Yeah, I can. But yeah, no, I had a penguin that didn't really like me, and you know, I had some really interesting priests though. Like I had this one guy, Brother Sean, who actually grew up with Muhammad Ali, and in his neighborhood in Kentucky, and you know, Cassius Clay. You know, so there was another neighborhood bully that stole Sean's bike, and he went and told Cassius, and Cassius went and beat the tar out of the kid and gave Sean his bike back. And I still remember that story to this day. I have no idea if it was true or not. But that story stuck with me because I was like, dang, because Muhammad Ali was kind of at the height of his popularity when I was in high school. You know, in the mid '80s.
Did they stay in touch after he took Muhammad for a name?
I do not know. I had another Catholic priest that actually got moved from El Salvador into our parish and was teaching at our school. And the only thing he could teach is Spanish because he obviously lived in El Salvador. But they were murdering Catholic priests during the 80s in El Salvador. I don't know if you remember this, but like he was part of the liberation theology movement. His name was Father John. And so they needed to stick him somewhere, and so he didn't get murked. And so they hid him away at our high school, and so he taught Spanish class for us. And,
Is that why you don't speak Spanish today?
That is 100% why I don't speak Spanish, yes. I hated Spanish class. But he told us really good stories about South America, or Central America, rather, so that was cool.
Apparently, El Salvador is the place to go now. Like, apparently it's like a crypto gold mine. The government's investing in crypto, and, like, the crime rate's, like, way down, and...
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Should we... Oh, do we want to talk about...
My dad was buried in a Catholic mass, so, I mean, I don't know if that means anything in 1989, so...
Do we want to talk about Tucker and Nick for 10 minutes?
This whole charge that I was never Roman Catholic, dude, it's like, you know, the gaslighting starts coming out, and it's just really annoying.
All right, everyone. I'm going to run today.
Chris, be honest.
Yeah, right.
You were never Roman Catholic.
No, exactly.
All right. See you guys later. Good day. Oh, my goodness. Perhaps not the finest hour of Ask a Christian. Or was it? I don't know. I mean, dude, look. Like, I legit broke. Like, I don't care about people's... I really have to go. I don't typically care about people's sincerity. I just answer the question they give. But that was so... That may be the, like, worst example, or the most, like, right in my face. I could not deny it. I just couldn't deny it. I lost it, man. I just could not stop the cackle, and sure, I guess I could have muted, but why? So, that's... Dude, the dishonesty of some people. Why would you think I'm this? I'm not this. I'm totally not this. Why would you say that? Why would you even accuse me of being that? The survey you just took that says I'm that. All right. See you guys later. AskAChristianPodcast.com. Like, share, subscribe. See you later.